Hello, hello. Welcome everyone to Spherical Luminosity's YouTube Live. Now, if you're aware that this is a time of massive shift and you've wanted to know how to become self-empowered to make the most out of the challenges that life offers you, then I think you're really going to enjoy this live session. So if you can continue to comment in the chat, your first name and where you're from so I can see you, that would be great. Hello, Doug from Las Vegas. I just met you recently. IFC. And Ting is here from Canada, I think, Ottawa, yes? And then we have John from Indiana. And we have Leah and Cindy, who are in New Mexico together. And Ronnie Newman from South Carolina. I see you. Thank you. Hello, Erica Gutierrez from San Diego. And also the Lawrencens. Hello, I see you guys in there in Colorado. And thank you for all of you who are joining us live, who I can't greet by name. It's really awesome to see you all. So for those of you who are new and who don't know me very well, my name is Karen Cheong. And as I mentioned, many of you know me already, and some of you don't. So for those of you who are new, I help to catalyze awakening and a rise in human consciousness by releasing people's unconscious and conscious blocks at what I refer to as frequency level, amplifying your awareness of the divine within so you can recognize and live the abundance and limitlessness of your true nature. So this is your birthright, and the time for humanity to awaken to this possibility is now. Now, for those of you who are brand new to frequency work and don't know much about it, and are here because someone told you to be here, I can only give a brief overview in the amount of time that I have. So after this, if you want to learn more, I'd recommend checking out episodes 1 and 2 of my vlog and podcast series, Mastering Your World Through Frequencies, on this channel. I can't believe it. I think we're over 160 episodes, the real labor of love for us. Those 2 episodes are all about the fundamentals of frequency work. And they're followed by GFC meditation, which is where all the magic happens. And there's also the how it works section of the website, sphericalluminosity.com. So those are some references for you guys. I'll be talking about more as we go along. So I'll just drop them in. Okay. So today we're talking about something very important, and it doesn't seem like it necessarily, but it is. And it's about self-empowerment. And what I'm referring to as being the calm in the center of the storm. So this isn't the first time, for those of you who've been to our YouTube lives, that we've talked about dealing with chaos and turmoil around us. Okay? But so far, we focus mostly on external events. Okay? And there's a lot of them right now. There's an incredible amount of polarization and intensity happening at this moment in time, such as the war in Ukraine, which sort of comes in and out of the media, depending on what's happening, food shortages or other scarcity. Inflation is a huge topic right now. It doesn't exactly matter what class or income bracket you're in. It's a very big concern, etc. And we talk about these external events as what constitutes chaos in our lives. Yeah. So, of course, these larger events can very much impact how someone feels and how high or low their frequency resonance is. So we've all had this experience when we're looking at the news or whatever, yes? Or hearing stories about this from friends. But I want to make a distinction and say that it doesn't have to be a huge external world event that causes a sense of chaos in our lives, at least as often. It's something that happens in our lives that we weren't expecting that can trigger us and or rock our world. It's very personal to us. So to be very clear, it's not actually the circumstances that cause the reaction in you. Okay, we all think it's the thing, and then something happens, and then we react to the thing. Yeah? And then it causes us to have a certain state or a certain frequency resonance. Okay, so I just want to reframe this a little bit because it's an important thing to understand. Maintaining a higher frequency resonance translates to both a better experience of life and actually a better life itself. And this is what I mean when I say being the calm in the center of the storm. So just because there's challenge or turmoil around you does not mean that you have to be experiencing the same chaos internally, inside, in the way you feel and in the way you're seeing or perceiving your reality. So like I mentioned, most people will talk about external things causing them to feel this way or that way, right? So you're a victim to life, causing them to be reactive however they are. But we know that those external things don't really cause anything. We're just, or rather, they're just really triggers or potential triggers that show us how stable and strong we are or are not internally, where we need to strengthen, and how high our frequency resonance is. Okay, that's all they are. They're simply input to give you the visibility or the awareness of where your triggers are. So triggers are very unpleasant to experience often, but they are important because they show you where you need to strengthen. Okay, so the higher your frequency resonance is, the less external circumstances rock you off your center. Okay, it's a very direct correlation. I say that again. The higher your frequency resonance is, okay, which implies, by the way, that you're stronger internally, you have fewer distortion patterns. The less external circumstances, stories, agendas, whatever you want to put in there, rock you off your center. So for example, okay, if you find out someone close to you has cancer, or that a coworker got the promotion you were hoping to get and they are clearly not as skilled as you are, or have been working as hard or contributing as much, or that your partner wants to end your relationship, whatever it is, doesn't matter. How much that impacts your frequency resonance, both in the moment in which you have knowledge of that or receive that information, and in the longer term, very much depends on how strong you are internally. Okay, how high you can maintain your frequency resonance despite that information, knowledge, story, agenda, whatever you want to call it, how neutral you're able to be, and how well you're able to, quote unquote, do what I refer to as surrender from strength. Although, as many of you know, surrender from strength isn't actually a doing. That's external. It's an internal movement that is extraordinary and required, okay, in order for us to rise in our frequency resonance. So if you want to know more about what neutrality really is, because it's 100% absolutely not apathy, non-emotionality, or not caring, which is what a lot of people think it is, which is actually completely inaccurate, I really would recommend the podcast vlog episode 104 called Neutrality, the Real Deal. And also another good one would be episode 139, Clarifying Surrender, okay, which is part of the Mastering Your World Through Frequencies vlog podcast. They are on this YouTube channel. You can also find them on like Apple Play and Spotify, okay? So they are free, and they will go into more detail about what these two states are, which are critical. Okay, so what really showed up a lot in the old paradigm in spiritual and even personal development circles was that people really gave away their power to their teachers, their experts, their guides, their gurus, fill in the blank, right? And they took in sometimes even their doctors. That happens a lot. They took in what those teachers told them, often without question. Why? Because the seeker or student was somehow less than the person in the place of power or influence. So less awake, less powerful, less wise, less informed, less knowledgeable, less fill in the blank, okay? Doesn't matter, whatever it is. And this dynamic often isn't even conscious. It can just hide there below the surface, impacting the power dynamic of the relationship. When the person who's somehow more elevated says something, the person in the less powerful position or when when the person who's elevated says something, and the person who is the seeker or the student, the seeker or the student tends to believe whatever is being said, even if it goes counter to the intuition or what they know to be true, okay, depending on the amount of power that they've given away to that person. In this old paradigm dynamic, it's like the seeker or student was always broken, needed to be healed, was unworthy, sinful, or in some way not enough, and needed that teacher or guide to save them, fix them, enlighten them, or show them the way. Okay? So the seeker or student wants to be told what to do, and they yearn for the person in that elevated position to tell them that they're awake, that they're good enough, knowledgeable enough, basically worthy enough. So I just want to be very clear about this because it's rampant in the spiritual community. And this is truly giving away one's power. And along with giving away our power, this is the key thing. It's very, very important. It's also the giving away of accountability. What? Okay, because no one really talks about giving away accountability when we talk about giving away our power. Okay, so why is this so important? Because if something goes wrong or the seeker doesn't get what they want, then it's easy to say it's the fault of the teacher. It's not my fault. It's their fault. Without accountability, you can never truly advance because you're disempowered from seeing what is within you that needs to be released, changed, or strengthened. You're completely disempowered. You're always depending on someone else and reinforcing that you're somehow deficient. Okay, remember that not worthy pattern? Yeah, that's it. You're just reinforcing that. So I want to contrast this with new paradigm spirituality and personal growth. Okay, so not very many people talk about this. I don't think I've ever really heard about it. So this is my perspective. In the new paradigm, one of the key things that are different from the old paradigm is that it's about self-empowerment. For us to know that, yes, we have to clear out distortion patterns. Our frequency and resonance needs to rise for us to be aware of experience and to live a better life. And that we can do something to facilitate our own awakening. Okay? We're not broken or defective. We're not less worthy. We're not less than at all. Okay? This is a huge pivot. Massive change right here. So yes, we're all different. So someone's going to be better at investing or saving money than you. You may be a better driver, but no one is intrinsically better or more worthy than anyone else. Can someone else guide you? Yes, but they are not better than you. Okay, that's the crux of the matter. And as I heard someone say once, and it was Hans King, who's since passed. He was using pretty religious terms at the time, but it was a powerful statement. I remember I cried when I heard it. And he said, God does not love anyone else more than he loves you. So translate that however works best for you. Okay, so if you don't like the word God, put in pure source, the divine, the one, whatever. But that statement is still a powerful one. No one is more important than you to that unimaginably highly resonating consciousness that we call the divine. Okay, this is the beloved state. This is not to say that you're more important than anyone else. It's that each one of us is equally important to the oneness, the all that is. Okay? And I don't mean that in the lame, like everyone gets a trophy because I participated way. Okay? Like I'm not talking about that. I'm talking about like truly, you are intrinsic to the one. In order for the one to be complete, you are part of it. Okay? So therefore, everything within the one is beloved. So I know that intellectually it's like, for some people, they don't really, it's not a thinking thing. It's a knowing, feeling thing that is a result of your frequency resonance. Okay. So if you're curious about how to access that more, I would really strongly recommend the relationship with the 1.0 journey to the beloved state, which is different from the relationship with the 2.0 that we just did, which was mastery within and over the illusion. So in any case, awakening, growing, improving our lives, these aren't things that someone does for us. It's for us to take responsibility for our own awakening, our own future, and to recognize, and even if we don't feel we know how to do that or what exactly to do, if we keep focusing on raising our frequency resonance and practicing the 6 core essentials, okay, which is what I taught recently in the Mastery Momentum, Refining the 6 Core Essentials workshops that I just gave, the why and the how will take care of themselves. So those 6 core essentials in this time, like I cannot give you more powerful tools. Like seriously, I wish someone had given me this when I began. I'm really not trying to pitch them. I'm telling you that it does not matter what level of frequency resonance you are. If you want to empower yourself truly, okay, to do your own work, to accelerate yourself, this is the difference I see in people in the amount of like upward momentum they have in their frequency resonance is whether they're practicing these 6 core essentials. Seriously, every time. So if you're giving away your power by blindly taking in what a teacher tells you or responding in fear of what if they're right and I'm wrong or some permutation of this, then that is a form of diminishing self, which only slows you way down your frequency resonance, actually much more than you probably realize, because you're basically acting against your own authority. Okay, and the new paradigm is all about your authority, the recognition of your own power. I don't mean over someone else. Okay, let me just make this super clear. I don't mean authority and power in the old paradigm way, which is oppression of someone else in order to have power. I'm talking about the authority and the power of knowing who you are as a divine being, that you are something that is far greater than the embodiment that is you, that is, simply your physical body, that you are infinite, indestructible consciousness. Okay, so if someone else tells you that you should only do what they tell you to do, to not work with anyone else, to not trust your intuition, or even to not follow your own knowingness, or in some way diminishes you, such that you feel like you need them in some fundamental way, be very aware that that is the old paradigm of oppression, fear, control, and disempowerment. Okay. It is time to move away from this old paradigm. It's up to you, of course, right? It's always your choice. The new paradigm is here. It is available to us. It simply requires that you are of a high enough frequency resonance to access it. That is the case for every possibility. The higher resonating the possibility is, it requires for you to your own frequency resonance to be high enough in order to access it. Your frequency resonance is the key to a better life. That's it in a nutshell. I couldn't bottom line it better than that. Okay. So truly, that's the key. So if you're not being given the tools to empower yourself, that you end up feeling reliant on someone else for your awakening, then it's old paradigm consciousness of someone being elevated and being given the power to oppress another, whether it's explicit or not, and whether it's intentional or not. Okay. So once again, we are in this window. We are shifting right now from the old to the new. That's why I'm banging on about it, right? Because I don't think people really understand what the hell the shift really means. So anyway, the new paradigm is about self-empowerment and accountability, because ultimately it's about being sovereign. Okay? Not in a conceptual, intellectual, like, I'm free. No. Sovereignty. What does that mean? It means that you have a fundamental recognition that you are a key player in your own awakening. And even if it feels small at first, you have the power to free yourself from what binds you, because you are remembering who you truly are as infinite, indestructible consciousness that is having an embodied experience. Okay? Sovereignty is about recognizing the authority of you as co-creator. You create everything in your reality. Everything. So that might raise some questions for you. Okay. So anyway, this is exactly why I taught Mastery Momentum, Refining the 6 Core Essentials. It's for you to empower yourself in this window of consciousness rising. It doesn't matter what level of frequency resonance you're at. It doesn't matter what's going on around you, outside of you. It doesn't matter if everyone else seems to think that you should be afraid or anxious or whatever. It's all about raising your frequency resonance. And when that pressure ratchets up and there is more fear, anxiety, stress, polarity around you, that's when you actually strengthen even more. You're doing more reps, okay? Because that other distortion that's lower is you're countering it by choosing something better. You're choosing to raise your frequency resonance. So, let me just see. Have I missed anything else? So these core essentials, if you want to know more about them, they're on our website. And they're really important to becoming like what I call unconscious competencies. Okay. Meaning you're so good at them, you don't have to think about how to do it or if you're doing it right. You just have these tools and you use them. Okay, so you're empowered to maintain and even raise your own frequency resonance. So that's what New Paradigm Awakening is. And it's available to us right now. So with all that said, that was my little impassioned discussion, I guess. So now I'm going to open the floor to questions, and then we're going to move into group frequency calibration to help you move into more of this self-empowerment, because there's so much heaviness in the old way, okay, in the old paradigm of us being needing permission from somebody, to be healed or whatever it is. I'm not saying there's not validity to the stories of the suffering. There is, and we can move beyond them. Okay, we're more powerful than we think. So I'm going to open, like I said, the floor to questions. I don't know if anybody. Oh, so just type the word question, and then follow with your question. That would be a good way to start. Okay, I don't know that. We don't have any questions so far. Okay. Awesome. All right. Nothing yet. Okay. I'm going to give it a couple of minutes so that people can ask something if they want. Otherwise, I'm going to jump into the GFC, which is where all the work and the magic happens, where all the change actually occurs. So I'm going to leap into that if there are no questions, which I don't see any. This is a first for our YouTube Live. I'm looking at Chris because I've never seen a time when we've done YouTube Live where there's been no questions. Okay. Hang on. Sorry. Do you want to? Okay. So can you see it? Yeah. I think if you want to highlight it just so everyone else can see it. That's an interesting question. Yeah, so money still is a thing. It's just a form of exchange. So money, we are in the midst of a shift, okay? Not only in consciousness, but in the way that we value things and the way that value is exchanged. So there is still value to things and the way that humans ascribe value in the new consciousness. So it's not like we sort of all sing kumbaya and hold hands together. I mean, I guess we could, but I don't think that's happening. So we're moving more into digital currencies right now. We are moving into a world where cryptocurrency will be, my feeling anyway, this is not my perspective. I don't know that anyone else would agree with me, but my feeling is we're already moving into that world, okay, where cryptocurrency is the way that we exchange value. It's available now, just like the new consciousness frequencies are available now. It's coming into form, so it's very new. And there's a lot of interesting old paradigm, irresponsible behavior and over leveraging that's happening in the cryptocurrency market currently, which is sort of interesting to observe. And so, yes, we will need to, so my point simply is the form of money that is happening is changing. You may want to learn more about cryptocurrency and figure out what works for you. You don't need to do all that research into altcoins and all that stuff. I think if you understand Bitcoin and Ethereum, that's sufficient. And given that inflation is really increasing and is a concern right now, I would say that it would be prudent, and I'm not a financial advisor, so please know that I am not giving you any financial advice whatsoever, that you may want to research an alternative form of currency, because the fiat currency is starting to lose its value. Okay, and I don't think that's anything particularly novel, but it's out there. So I would suggest starting to look into that. Okay, I don't know if that answered your question, but hopefully it helped. What if you have to deal with someone that you feel is lower frequency resonant and decide to not communicate with them anymore? I don't know that I have enough context for that question. So what I would suggest is the first thing that you have to learn, which is very important. So first, it's good that you have the awareness that your frequency resonance is impacted negatively by that person. So that's very good. Okay, so that's like the first step. To even understand or be aware that someone else's frequency resonance is impacting yours in a way that you don't particularly like is an important first step. Okay, so once you know that, okay, how do you do what I call holding your space? All right. So for those of you who've been on the YouTube Live, you know that one of my very favorite episodes of Mastering Your World Through Frequencies is episode 121, Steady She Goes, Holding Your Space. So Todd, I would suggest you watch that. So holding your space is when you are able to hold the space within your spirit body, which backing up is a sphere at arm's length all around you, which is rendering the physicalness of you right in its very center. Okay, there should be nothing within this sphere, okay, other than your own frequencies and basically higher self, pure source. Okay, it's a very special space, and no one else's frequencies should be running within that space. If they are, it means that they're too close to you and interfering with how you render. And what does that mean? It means in your life, they have too much influence, control, and it can shift into oppression pretty quickly. Okay. So once you learn to hold your space, okay, or what even holding your space means, what happens is that as you clear your distortions, so it might feel hard for you, okay, if it's hard for you to set boundaries so that people don't come into your space. Okay. So once you listen to that episode and you understand what holding your space means better, what I would suggest is that you do the deep dive. So if this is a challenge for you and you feel bad or guilty or fill in the blank about telling that person to basically not communicate with you anymore, then it's helpful for you to get more support. Okay, so I would recommend the deep dive if this is something you feel that would help you, so that on a frequency level, you can release all the distortion patterns that keep you from holding your space effectively. Why? Because if you don't clear those distortion patterns, what will happen is, even if this person you successfully not communicate with, because you have those distortion patterns still running through you, you're going to attract people who want to push into your space because you're still broadcasting the frequency of hey, it's okay for you to push into my space. And so people who like to push into people's space, right, and control them and get them to do what they want or fill in the blank, whatever this person's doing that's egregious to you, will be attracted to you and be like, hi, I'm willing to do that. I'll push into your space. Sure. Okay. So by releasing the distortion patterns, you no longer are broadcasting that frequency. And therefore, who you attract in terms of your friends, your whomever it is, right, become different. And that's how you start to shift your relationships and the nature of your relationships and that type of thing. Okay, so hopefully that is helpful to you. Okay. Question? Okay. Okay. Okay, so in all the discussions of abundance, I've been expecting all this money, health, wealth, but it's not there. Do I need to redefine abundance or just be comfortable with where I am? Yeah. So in the just surrender from strength discussion that we had in the 6 core essentials, the challenge that most people have that is missing in terms of releasing distortion is in the surrender piece. So we all think that surrender is sort of passive. It's not. It's actually quite active. And there's 3 steps to surrender from strength. One is to be aware, okay, of the distortion. The second is to accept the distortion is running. And the third is then to surrender. So, which is the letting go piece. So the challenge is that if we resist the distortion pattern, it shows up again and again because you're resisting it. I know it sounds bizarre, but that's just the way it works. So if you're resisting the pattern, trying to push it out, you're resisting it, you actually aren't completely pushing it out of your field. Okay, so because you're in resistance with it, as opposed to really being in acceptance with it and then being able to let it go. That completes the removal. Okay, and that's when things start to shift because you're not fully in that surrender from strength state. Until you're in that space, it's difficult for shift to happen. Make sense? So you have to, it's partially, you have to confirm the removal, which is core essential number 1. Okay, and then you need to come into your 0 point and then surrender from strength. Okay, so that's core essential 1, 3, and 6. So anyway, what I would suggest is that part of your work is to not just be aware of the distortion, but then to accept that it's there. And not because you're trying to make it go away, but because you truly accept and see the distortion that you are creating. It's a higher level of responsibility and perspective. Okay, so please know I'm not blaming you. Okay, we all create whatever we're creating. And so once you do that and then go into surrender, then that pattern will release, and then what you create can shift, and then what you can then release accelerates. Okay, then you can do it at greater and greater levels. Also, the expectation of expectations can bite us in the ass. Okay, is what I'll say. I understand it. I mean, we're human, so we all have expectation. The more expectation you have, the more attachment you have. The more attachment you have, the less you're in neutrality. The less you're in neutrality, the less you are in the 0 point. The less you are in the 0 point, the less you have control, influence over your, or not control, I should say, that's not the right word, influence over your reality and what it looks like. So expectation is a difficult thing to release for some of us, especially those of us who have struggled a lot and have fear or disempowerment or victim or whatever, some of these distortion patterns, non-worthiness running. Expectation can be really hard because it emphasizes or highlights where we don't have what it is we think we want. It underscores or amplifies the scarcity, that we're in lack. Okay, so another thing for you to address is expectation. And I know that's terrible. I know it must be very frustrating, I imagine, because you're like, well, if I don't have expectation, then how am I supposed to get out of this? Right. So expectation is a mental thing. And it requires that, again, it's the release of the different, I keep coming back to the core essentials because really that's what it is. It's about confirming the removal. Okay, holding your space with it, then being able to center into the 0 point even more. And then you can experience more neutrality, surrender from strength, and unified integration. So to give you an action item that would be helpful is to notice where your expectations are and where you have lack. And my feeling is that those two things overlap. So then to release the expectation is to, do the work, the frequency work around it, and then work on that piece with surrender of some strength having to do with acceptance. So then you can release it more fully. Does that make sense? So hopefully that's a helpful, actionable item. Okay. Right. Patricia, how do we not give our power away while doing frequency work? I stopped doing it, but I realized I was putting others, even you and our teachers, on a pedestal above me. Well, first of all, good for you for being aware of it. That's always step number one. How do we not give away our power doing frequency? You mean to the person who's doing the frequency work? I think that's what you mean, yes? Oh, okay. Yeah. So it's an internal shift. And for you, Patricia, it's, and for many people, it can make us, because okay, sorry, backing up. Okay. So because the person who's doing frequency work often has access to information about your distortions and knows a lot about you. They don't, I don't know you personally, actually, very well at all, or I don't know you personally, but yet a lot of who you are is very apparent to me without it being very personal. It can seem like magic. And when it seems like the person who's doing the thing has these special powers, we're like, ooh, we're not as good as them because they know more about me than I know about me. Okay. That's right in there. Okay. Where it's like, they know more about me, or how did they know that? There's, I'm less than. Okay. I'm less than because I can't do that. It's not accessible to me. Therefore, I'm less than right there. Okay. It doesn't mean you're less than. It just means you have a different gifts than I do. Right. So I happen to be able to do this. I mean, I don't know, you might be a very good knitter and I'm a terrible knitter, you know what I mean? Or whatever it is. Okay. So honestly, it has to do with the value of our own worth and putting someone else's strengths or gifts in a higher light than ourselves, because we often feel like we're not enough. So first of all, what I would say is it's phenomenal that you have the awareness. Secondly, doing the relationship with the one, I think is very key in this, because it's very much about recognizing that you're beloved exactly the way you are, and that you're very important, and that you have the power and the ability to co-create your reality. Once you realize you have the power to co-create everything in your reality, you're like, whoa, I am not like a small fry here. I just create everything in my reality. And the person who's quote unquote got the unique abilities happens to be the vehicle that I created to help myself along. You created it. I'm just the vehicle who's helping. Does that make sense? Okay, it's just a little shift right there. You created it. I wouldn't be in your reality unless you created it. Do you understand how much power that is? It's tremendous. Okay, so if you understand that and you can start to feel that, you're like, oh man, I'm pretty damn tough. I just created that, right? So that I can excel. That's what else? What else can I do? You can do a lot. Okay. And so I'm not suggesting that there isn't, like for me too, I mean, there's always more to clear. There's always more to accelerate and all that sort of stuff. And it's to be aware of this thing right here that you've indicated in terms of your question. And to notice when you start to go into that space of like, oh, wait, I feel less than for some reason. Okay. To notice that and be like, okay, I feel less than. Why? Scan for the distortion. Okay. Now confirm the removal. Okay. And then do the rest of the work. All right. So hopefully that's helpful. And if what I would say is that it's interesting to me, I've seen it happen many times where people will ask a person who has gifts or abilities a question. And when the person responds, they know that it's not quite right because they'd felt something before that they knew intuitively was correct. And then the person says, oh no, it's this. Okay. The person with the gifts or whatever, the teacher says, oh, that's not true. And they totally, without even thinking, accept that truth. Okay. If someone's doing that a lot to you, be aware of it. Okay. If they're always trying to be like, oh, you're not as powerful as me. Oh, I can understand how you felt that way, but you're wrong. Oh, whatever. Okay. If there's diminishing happening in any way, shape, or form, be very aware that that's happening. Ask yourself, do I really want to continue to be in a relationship with this person if they're trying to diminish me, even though I'm afraid that I might not get the same acceleration? Okay. Be aware, because as you guys start to rise in your frequency resonance and you get stronger and stronger and stronger and stronger, your knowingness is your knowingness. Okay. So someone may have a different perspective and that might be valid. That's their perspective. That's it. Right. So hopefully it's helpful. I went on a tangent. That happens sometimes, as you all know. All right. We'll take one more question. All right. How do we know when and how we should act? Everything seems so uncertain right now. It's difficult to know what decisions are best for a future that is unclear. Yeah. So my answer would be to stay still until you know. So I realize you're just like, well, Karen, if I could do that, then I would have asked the question. I imagine, or something like this. Yes. Okay. So my point is simply, most people have a strong knowingness that they know. Okay. So they act on it really quick. So it's sort of like, for example, you chose to come on this YouTube. Maybe this is not a good example, but it's like, for example, the choice to sign up for something or not, or like to join something or not. You don't have to think about it. You just do it, right? You're just like, yeah, that's for me. I'm going to do that. So the challenge with us is that our minds don't like uncertainty. We don't like lack of resolution. So we're always waiting for some certainty that will show us the way. Okay. So we're always scanning for it. So the thing is to wait until you get that yes, right? And then also to be mindful of why you're moving into action. Is it because you have like a yes, like, yep, doing that? Or are you acting out of fear of loss, or fear of missing out on something, or fear of fill in the blank? Because if it's a fear thing, That is a very low level order of consciousness. It happens to the best of us. Okay, maybe that sounds like a good idea. Maybe I should do that because if I don't, then I'll miss out on the thing, or that's an opportunity. Do you see how this rationalization, like I'm talking to myself in my head, and it's like going on and on, but all the reasons why it's probably great. If the opportunity is good, you'll just know. It's kind of like yeah, I want to do that thing. I don't even know what the hell the thing is exactly, but I know that I have to follow this path. Okay, so that's what I would say. And then part of the frequency work is to become uncomfortable in the unknown. To become comfortable in the unknown. Sorry, I said that wrong. Okay, it's actually the opposite of what I just said. Okay, to become comfortable in the unknown. To be able to sit in the present moment. Because the future, yes, it's uncertain. It's always uncertain because it doesn't exist. It's simply projection from your mind based on the distortion that you're experiencing in that particular moment. So the future doesn't exist. So what is your decision now? Like in your choices presented to you now, is the choice stillness, nothing? That is a choice that often people are not able to sit with because they're not comfortable with that lack of resolution. So it's to learn to be comfortable in that present moment, even if it's to be still. And then when you know where to go. So it requires, I just realized, this sense of, I guess to a certain degree, it's trust. Okay. Because like whatever led you here. Okay. And to trust the knowingness of whatever's guiding you. Okay. Meaning your higher self. So if something kind of random shows up and you're like, I have no idea why the heck I'm doing that, but it seems like I need to, then follow that, even if it seems random. And what happens is the more you follow those things that quote unquote seem random, that you have a full body yes to, that you know that you need to do, even though it seems ridiculous, your knowingness and your trust in yourself will amplify and get stronger. So that you know with more certainty when you're sitting in that stillness of non-action, that it's actually empowered because you're simply in the present moment, open, aware, receptive. And as soon as that thing comes in where you're like, yep, you're ready to go and you trust that, okay? Because you've been building that strength or that ability or that practice from what you've been doing. So hopefully that's helpful. Okay, are we, what time are we at? One more, okay, and then GFC, because that's actually where the work is. Okay. For those struggling with lots of physical health issues, can you speak to health and frequency work in the upcoming paradigm? Yes. So there's an interesting core belief that I've noticed in people, and I noticed it when I myself was quite ill. And that is that we don't really have the power to change our physical bodies that much. Okay, so even if you believe that you can create manifest, and that you have the ability to shift certain things, for many people, they have challenge with the belief or the knowing that they can change their physical bodies as well. Okay, because it just seems so dense. We're in it all the time. And if you're in pain, well, it sucks. Okay, so of course it feels like it's never going to end. Okay. So part of the movement into the new paradigm and into self-empowerment is to really understand, not with your mind, but through an embodied knowingness, meaning that you feel in every fiber of your being, the extent to what you co-create, including your physical body. So I realize that for people who are ill or suffering from pain or whatever it is, that it feels like something very far away because you're in the suffering and the pain. And what I will say to you is that you can shift that and you can shift your relationship to it, which is probably the more important of the two. Okay. So meaning how you view the suffering and the pain and all that sort of stuff. Okay, so meaning that I'm not suggesting you have to suffer or be in pain. Okay, so I did not say that. So please note, I did not say that. Our relationship to it, however, can shift we can use it more for growth and to understand the extent to which we co-create. So that when you start to create at a different level, because your frequency resonance is clearer and higher, then the realities that you can access, the body that you get to experience shifts. Okay. Now, the thing is that sometimes, and this was the case for me, it was the case for my dad as well, that physical crisis or breakdown is the root, the catalyst to the journey to awakening. It certainly was the case for me. I'm not saying it's required. Okay, please know, I'm not saying that's required or it's better than or whatever. But oftentimes, crisis, whether it looks like a health crisis, a financial crisis, a relationship crisis, a work crisis, a fill in the blank crisis, is required for the person, myself included, to have some sort of breakdown, so that in that breakdown, there's a moment of surrender where something shifts and we look for a different path, a different way. Something changes. And in that, we start to ask different questions and the journey begins. So my feeling is, in the new paradigm, that the general consciousness level is high enough that you don't have to have as severe levels of crisis in order to begin the journey. And I want to also mention that the journey to awakening cannot be dictated in terms of timing, right? The person is ready to wake up when they're ready to wake up. End of story. No one's going to force anything to happen. It's just when it's time. It's like a baby being born. If it's being born naturally, it's not being forced. It's going to come when it's ready. Okay, so it's the same with awakening. So in the new paradigm, to answer your question more directly, because the consciousness level is higher, the amount of crisis that a person needs to experience in order to begin that journey, from my perspective, will shift, okay, for many, not for everybody, for many, okay? And that's a very exciting thing. And I also feel like, and I'm seeing it happen faster and faster, the amount of time that it takes for someone to truly realize their ability to co-create and truly come into their sovereignty as a co-creator is much faster. It's already accelerating. I'm already seeing it accelerate. So, and there's also, in the new paradigm, man, this struggle frequency that we have in the old paradigm really sucks. Like the suffering thing that we have going on. Yeah. So that changes as we start to release it from ourselves. Okay? And as our frequency resonance buoys up, that changes in us, which means that the length of time that you have to remain in that suffer or that struggle or the pain diminishes and can shift very, very fast, sometimes like overnight. Okay, and that's when we start to see miraculous healings and that type of thing. It really has to do with how high is your frequency resonance, and do you know that you can tune into a different frequency resonance, a different reality at a different frequency resonance, lock into it, and start to live that reality? Because that's what you can do. All of us can do it if your frequency resonance is high enough. We're coming into that. Does that make sense? So I don't know if I answered your question exactly. I think I did. Hopefully that helps. That is the last question. Thank you for asking them. Okay, so I'm going to jump to the GFC at this moment, and it will be on self-empowerment. And really, you'll notice that a lot of this has to do with breaking away from this very pervasive old paradigm of the elevation of the guru, okay? Or the teacher or the guide or whatever you want to call it, fill in the blank, it doesn't matter, all right? This is shifting, and thank goodness, actually, yeah. Okay, so here we go. Let's rise together, settling in. becoming aware of your body, please. And as you become aware of your body, please scan your body. So for those of you who are new, what does it mean to scan your body? It means to be aware of it in its completeness, okay, and in its entirety. So the way you might do that is to become aware of your body, say from the crown of your head to the soles of your feet, or the inverse, or from your back body all the way around to the front body, or the inverse. Or perhaps you become aware of yourself from all the way inside to all the way out to your skin, or the inverse, or whatever works for you. Okay, it's not an exhaustive list. Whatever you do to become aware of your body in this moment, right now. We're not usually pay attention to our bodies. We're usually distracted in our heads. So as you become more aware of your body, becoming aware of the weight of your body as it settles into whatever is supporting you. Noticing if you're allowing yourself to sink into whatever is supporting you, or if you're somehow holding in some way. Nice. Good. And on your next inhale, whenever it becomes available to you, bringing your breath, attention, focus, awareness into your left hip, noticing its boniness, the curve of it, the space that it takes up within the body. Good. And then whenever you're ready, on your next inhale, whenever it becomes available to you, bringing your breath, attention, focus, awareness into your left heel. Noticing the stretch of the skin over the left heel. Its dense fleshiness. And then becoming aware whenever you're ready. Or imagine the distance between the very center of the earth and the very center of your left heel. Yeah. And as you become very aware of or imagine this space, yeah, pulling all of us more into the 0 point of space and time. Good. For a moment, noticing your body again. Notice if it's different. Are you more relaxed? Are you able to sink more into whatever's supporting you? Has your breath changed? Noticing the details of your body. Good. And when you're ready, and your next inhale becomes available to you, bringing your breath, attention, focus, awareness into your right hip. Becoming aware of the space within the right hip, whatever that means to you. Good. And on your next inhale, bringing your breath, attention, focus, and awareness down into that right heel. Noticing the texture underneath the heel, meaning whatever your heel is touching. And becoming aware of the space between the very center of the earth and the very center of your right heel. Good. Becoming aware, please, now of your midpoint of your solar plexus. So your solar plexus is between your belly button and the base of your sternum, okay, which is that big bone in the center of your chest where your ribs meet in front of your body. So right in the midpoint between your belly button and the base of your sternum. Keeping your attention here by placing a hand or a finger on this spot, really becoming aware of the heat of the hand, the press of the skin to skin. Mm-hmm. Good. Let's go ahead and ask ourselves the question, how can I become even more aware of my connection only to pure source? So as you ask yourself this question, whether you're aware of it or not, your higher self responds by quickening your own frequency resonance. Okay, so it's like you're taking a running jump. I'm catching you on the top end of your jump, pulling you higher. Here we go. So this is one of the most important things we do together, because how high your frequency resonance is impacts what your reality looks like, how you feel about it, how much momentum you have on spirit level, what distortions you can release. It all comes down to this. Lowering your resonance even higher still. Whether you feel something or not is not relevant. Some of you are feelers, you feel a lot, and some of you aren't, and that's okay. Good. Excellent. We need all this momentum. Bring your attention now to that xiphoid process right at the base of that sternum. So that thick bone in the center of your chest, if you trace it from the hollow of your throat all the way down to its base, and it goes from bone to flesh, that fleshy point that's a bit tender when you press on it, that is your xiphoid process. So bring your attention to this spot. So the first pattern we're going to release is a non-deserving, non-worthiness pattern. Okay? I'm not enough to truly be empowered. I'm not enough. I have to do something else. I have to learn more. I need to be more. I need to think more. I need to have more information. I need to be more awake, whatever. Let's release this. Softening into this space. And imagining, if you can, your brilliance, or a brilliance from deep within that starts to radiate outwards. At this point, out in all directions around you. So it's like the flame of a candle that starts to grow and radiate like a star. Very good. Yes. Bring your attention now, please, from your heart space all the way down to your belly button in a straight line, right down the front center of the body. All right. In addition to the back of your neck, okay, and the space between the vertebrae and your neck. So this is control patterns. Ooh. So there are a lot of people who are vested in you not being empowered. People who are purportedly friends or family or lovers or teachers or healers or whatever. It's a lot of people who want to have control over you because they want something. I don't know, attention, money, love, whatever, fill in the blank. So, okay, really keeping your attention here on these two spots. If your mind wants to drift, I would strongly recommend that you refocus on these 2 points, okay? Okay, we're releasing fear for a large subgroup of you. The fear that you're going to get this wrong. The fear that control won't stop. There's a lot of fear here as well as these control patterns. So releasing, it's a lot. All of this. For a large subgroup, there's the fear that you're not strong enough. There we go. Yeah. Bringing your attention now, please, to your kidneys. Okay, so your kidneys are on the back side of your body, on either side of your spine at waist level. Okay, it's the back side of your body, either side of your spine, waist level. So you can put your hands back there if you'd like. Okay. Alrighty. So we're releasing the distortion pattern of attachment. So for a large subgroup, okay, the attachment is because there's a fear that you're not going to be able to step up in the right way. Okay, like you'll make a mistake or you'll fail in some way or something will happen. Or for a couple of you, it's like you'll succumb to like darkness or I don't know, something like this. All right. So releasing that. For a much smaller subgroup, like significantly smaller, but it's still here, you don't want to take accountability. You want someone else to do it for you. No one else can do this for you. Okay. So releasing this. So you're attached to the them having that kind of control, okay, or be elevated because you don't want the accountability. Here we go. Right, another subgroup. You're not sure what to do. So you want to be told because then you'll have clarity and certainty. Okay, so we're going to release this attachment to this kind of certainty. Right, for some of you, this is quite deep. And so you're probably going to have to work on this pattern a bit. Or quite a bit, depending on who you are. There we go. And as you are aware of this space, imagining a really beautiful peacock blue starting to expand into this space. Mm-hmm. Good. Allowing it to get even brighter still. Releasing from a small subgroup. It's interesting. It's the wanting to apologize or diminish self because you're getting too bright. This is not a huge subgroup, but it's here. I'm just helping you guys. There we go. Good. Yep. Becoming aware of the midpoint of your solar plexus, please. Again, between your belly button and the base of your sternum. Whoa. Okay. So this is distortion of seeing only your limitation. Okay. So I don't know if you've noticed this, but a lot of times we'll focus on where we kind of suck. Okay. Or our limitedness. We don't usually put our attention on our expandedness or limitlessness. So we're really locked into this view. It's very confining. So for some of you, you really just like this. Okay, so you're going to ping right out of this perspective very fast. So for others of you, you're way down in it. It's harder for you to release. And within that group, there's another subgroup that is it's a lineage pattern. You're supposed to be limited, like it's dishonorable or inappropriate for you to focus on the things that you're like really wonderful about you, and instead to always focus on how you are limited. There we go. Once again, becoming aware of, imagining, sensing, feeling, or knowing your brilliance or a brilliance, if that's easier, from deep within. It expands through these spaces. Here we go. Yeah, bringing your attention, please, to your entire heart space. In the center of your chest and your nipple line. So what I'm releasing is the heaviness of the negation of self. All those times where you knew you should have said something or done something or knew that your intuition was right, but you shifted it because someone else told you something different that you thought was better than you. So every time we do this, it creates heaviness within our resonance. And that is what I'm clearing out. There we go. Excellent. Becoming aware now of your xiphoid process, which is right beneath your sternum, straight down towards your belly button by about 3 inches or 7 centimeters. As you pay attention to this space, I'm clearing out and resetting your pain body, because your pain body has a memory of you before the frequency work was done, which makes it much harder for you to integrate. Good. So some of you, your pain bodies are really full. Okay, and one of the triggers here is self-doubt. So I'll help clear that. Good. Yeah. Everyone take a nice deep breath in, please. Holding your breath for a second or two and releasing it with some sound. Either staying in this space or blinking your eyes open, looking at something inanimate. All right, guys. Well, thank you for joining us. And I look forward to working with you next time on our next YouTube Live, which will be a really fascinating topic that I'm curious to delve into. So I'll see you in a couple of weeks. Bye for now.